Okay, guys. So date and time date types are two types. One is date type, another one is the timestamp date type. Syntax for the date type is column name and date. So date data type is used to store the date in a column. Date data type is used to store the date values. Date values. It accepts the default format of date data type is DD MON YYYY. DD.
We are not able to see the screen, sir.
Oh, can you see now?
Yes.
Sorry, madam. Yeah. So date data types are two types. One is date data type, another one is the timestamp data type. So date data type syntax is column name and date. So why we use date data type to store the date values in a column. So it accepts the default format of date. For in our database, the default format of date is DDMONYYY. DDMONYYY. All database management system, the default format is DDMONYYY. So the drawbacks of date is unable to store the date and time. By using date, we can store only date, not both date and time. So if you want to store both date and time, you should use timestamp date type. You should use timestamp date type. So it will allow you to store the date and time both. Date and time both. Hours, minutes, seconds, fraction of seconds. Clear? Here, if you take an example, let us take as a some account table in a SBI branch. Account number, first name, last name, open date. Open date when they have opened the account, that should have date. For example, let assume that you have done let assume that you have done 5,000 transaction. You have done some 5,000 transaction today morning, or else here let assume that so you have done one transaction in the Amirpet. You have done one transaction is in Hyderabad. You have done one transaction in the ATM Panjagutta first 10,000. Next, same again, same day you have done one more transaction in ATM Amirpet. You have done ATM transaction in ATM Amirpet 20,000. But when you try to when you get the transaction in the Panjagutta, you got a 10,000 rupees. But when you have done one more transaction at the same day in Amirpet, amount has detected. Amount has detected. But amount is not, you haven't received the amount from ATM. At the same day, again he has done one more transaction in the ATM, Sanat Nagar, 15,000. He got the amount as well. Next same day, again Yarragadda, 5,000. So he has done four transactions on that day. So he got everywhere the amount as well when he has done. But only Amirpet ATM amount has detected. But it ain't received from the ATM. So sometimes it will happen like this, right? When you are try to when you are try to withdraw from amount from the ATM, by that time you can able to withdraw amount. By that time you can able to withdraw amount, but the amount will be deducted. You won't get that amount from ATM. So automatically sometimes it will happen, and automatically the amount will be created to back your account. Automatically amount created back to your account. But I have waited, I have waited 2 days, but amount has not created. So now I will go and branch that. So and so this is the slip. I have taken amount, but amount has rejected, amount is not created. You like that you will tell. So the problem is, if that is called transaction table. Transaction table. Account number dot and area. Account number, date and area. If it is saving only, now you can tell me. So the 18th July may have multiple transaction, within the branch. So one customer has done this one. So like that we have number of customers, right? Everyone may have done transaction. How do you find out the account holder which he reached, that the amount has deducted, it has not created? How do you find out? If you are having number of transactions, how do you find out, guys?
And
So now, if it is saving only, if it is saving only date, the whole day, many transactions were there. So to check those transactions without time, it's very difficult, right? He has to check manually. Am I right or not? Number of transactions will be done, right? And one day. So if it is having time and date both, when he slip itself, there itself he can see and he can able to understand. So and so time, so and so date he has done, amount has deducted, but amount is not created. So that he can check easily based on your time on the system, and he will check the reason. What is the reason? It is not created again. If it is really amount is not created and transaction is done, then they will raise the ticket to get it done, to get the amount is back. So here, if it is saving only date, it's very difficult, right, to check how many transaction has done. Each and everything has to go through it without time. So by that situations, transactions, you should save the both time and date. Now, one more scenario, like you have open the account. So for the open the account, we will save only date. We don't require the time, because there open the account only required when he opened. At what time it is open not required. When he opened, just we need to track it. When he opened that is required. So we need to capture only date. So by the time we will go for the date. By the time we will go for the date. Why we don't required when what time he has open the account? Why do we require? Just to we will check when is open the account. When it is comes to transaction, why we required means these type of situations. So everything should be captured on the date and time both, because that is a not a static value. The whatever you mentioned the right open date, that is a static value. So it doesn't change tomorrow. But transaction, if you have done transaction today and if you have done tomorrow one more transaction, the date will change, time will change. So that's the reason you should save both date and time. So you the customer made done 10 transaction per day. This all should be captured, right? Though all not will store only separate location. There is a transaction table. All details will be stored in the transaction table. So those type of situations you should use the transaction date and time to avoid and to check multiple transactions. What will happen? Why it is not created and all. Clear? And one more scenario. Hmm,
Sir, if we write get data syntax, we'll get a date as well as time also, right, in SQL?
that is based on SQL, ma'am. Like you get date means I think it's a MySQL or PostgreSQL. I think PostgreSQL. Based on the I mean database. So there are some slight changes in the functions for the date alone. For the date alone. So if you take if you take now one more scenario I will tell you. There are if you have joined the company, so you are going daily to the company. So in company, how they will maintain when you have joined hire date is the when they have hired you. Hire date is the when they have hired you for the company. Okay, but at the same time nowadays, previously doesn't what it doesn't not there. Nowadays every company is tracking hire date. Hire date is when they hired you. Hire date is when they hired you for the company. And one more thing, nowadays every company has done 19 hour, 9.5 hours is the mandatory to work in the company. How they are tracking your details if you are going to office, that will automatically capture and it will show in the time sheet whether you are maintaining 9.5 hours or not. Am I right? If anyone is really
Yes.
working, they understand how that is tracking. How there should be some separate program, right? Now see, you are entering morning, again you will come from breakfast or something else, again you will go, again you will come for another thing, again you will go, again you will come for the afternoon lunch, again you will go inside, again you will come for break, again you will go, again evening again you will come. How it will take? That should be tracked 9.5 hours, right? That will show in your time sheet automatically. It will calculate 9.5 hours. If it is if how it will take first in last out, first in last out. When you swipe your id card, then only it will allow you to insert the I mean enter into the office, right? If if anyone is working really, they can understand this one. When you swipe your card, then only it will allow you to enter the office. Am I right?
Yes.
So that is first thing. That is first thing. The for the whole day. Next, what it will take? Last out when you left from the office. First in how it will take minimum of min of the login time, max of login time for the day it will take. Then it will check the difference between the dates. There are multiple functions are there for based on the functionality of the database, like date diff, something like that. Difference between the dates it will check, and it will get the, if we need to check the difference between the dates, it will check both dates are same. So it will return the 0 days. Then time it will check, then time it will come. So if it is not having the timestamp, timestamp, if it is only having the time, is how it can be calculate that one, how many hours you stayed in the office? Is it possible? Is it possible to calculate first in last out, the times, the column data type is date, not timestamp. Date means it will store only date. So is it possible to calculate, guys? Possible to calculate the hours? How many hours you stayed? Not right. It's very difficult now. How it will calculate without time? It cannot calculate, right? So those type of scenarios we should use timestamp. You have joined the company, so that is static values never change. Even you left from that company, they will maintain your track, because you change it to some other company. They will go for the background verification. So on, so how many years they said, they will check and they will give the like if you really work, they will give the green. Yes, his employee is ours. This many years he has stayed, like that. How that will calculate? First, when you hide, they will take like join date. Left, when you left, they will take as end date. Join date, end date. Difference between the dates they will calculate. How many years, how many months you stayed, it will come. So based on the requirement, you have to analyze which data type you have to use it. If column is required, column is required both time and date, then you have to go for the timestamp. If the column is not required, time, only date is required, then you have to go for the date. Clear? So let's see. There is a function called sysdate. How you are having get date, madam? In Oracle, it is a sysdate. Only slight differences is there in the day, year only, like um, dates. Sysdate. Sysdate is a function. Sysdate is a date function which returns both current time and date. It returns current date and time. So I am telling sysdate will return current date and time, but it is returning only time. Sorry, date. Why it is not returning time? Why it is not returning time? So we are using dual table here. Dual is a dummy table. Dual is a dummy table which is having one row and column. Which is having one row and one column. This is one column. This is one column. This is one row. Column name is dummy. Column name is dummy. If you see, column name is dummy. The data type for the column is varchar to 1 byte. Because if you observe here, the row is having only 1 byte. So why it is returning only date now? It is having varchar to data type. That's the reason it is returning only date. Sysdate is a function which return current date and time. Now I will show you. You can see. Create table is student 6. Now student ID. Which data type,
Sir,
guys? Right.
Sir, dual table we only need to create or it is
No,
already
it said,
created
did,
in.
did we created madam so far?
No, no.
No, that means it is a inbuilt. I said right, it is a system created object. Whatever
Okay.
when you install the software, automatically those will be created. Those all are the system created tables. So I will tell you what and all we require, what and all we create in the class. Those only we created. So dual is a dummy table which is having one row and one column. That is very important, madam. In interview, they will ask to test you. What is dual table? You have to tell dual is a dummy table which is having one row and column. They will ask what is the column name for the dual. So that is we have to tell dummy table. Date type is varchar2. Okay. SID, student ID is which date type you have to declare, guys?
Integer.
Integer. So now my requirement, I don't need to declare integer. If you declare, that will take maximum 38 digits, right? So I don't need, I need only 10 bytes. So I will go for the number date type. Student name, which date type?
Varkar.
Varchar2. So some 20. Next, join date. Join date.
Integer only, sir. Number.
Join date, when he has joined. So we have to take date. It has to capture date. It has to capture date. Next, gender.
Varkar.
Care we have to take it. That is fixed length, right? Care we have to take it. Fixed length. So now table is created. Table is created. Insert into. Hmm, how to take. So I need to show you both. Let me create a bank table. Timestamp also I wanted to show you. Hmm, transaction. Okay, let me show you first this one. Want to see. Here, now I am inserting insert into student 7 values. Student ID 1001. Student name Venky. Student join date. So what is the date, right? So I am just to taking sys date. Why I am taking sys date for join date? Gender is male. Why I am taking sys date, guys? For join date, I can enter manually like this. So today date, if a student is joining today date, I will take manually like this. What is the issue? Inconsistent date type. Expected date but got number. We are entering date only, no?
There is only 2022 you mentioned, sir. 2022 unit mentioned.
You have to mention 2022. That is not an issue. See, what is the default format of date, guys?
It's not here.
Sorry.
Date month year.
So what we are entering? DDMONYYY is the format. The default format of date is DDMONYYY. So you need to enter that only. MON means month you have to enter. July. So still it is not taking. So for date, not full form you have to enter. You should enter first three letters. DDMON, June, July, JUN, JUL, August we will call AUG, September SCP, January just we will take Jan, February we will take Feb, like that. So still it is not allowing. So whenever we are inserting a date that should be within single quote, then only that will accept. The date which you are inserting, that should be in single quote. See, date is used, date and time date types used to store the date and time values. So Arkel SQL converts automatically character value into date value. See, the default format is DDMYNYY. So whenever you need to enter the date, that should be within single quote. So now you may ask me, see now one row inserted. Now you may ask me. So yesterday you said that whatever we mentioned within single quote, that will be treated by character data or string data. Character data and string data. So it will treated by automatically character data, right? Or a string data. Then how it will take consider as a date? Yesterday I said, right? Anything which is written in a single code, that is called as a character data. So now it is called as a character data. How it is converting to the date? So there is a functionality called conversion. Conversion. We can do manual conversion, but Arkel server, for Arkel server, whenever you insert whenever you insert the date in a within single quote, or else whenever the character data is having a valid date, character data is having a valid date. It's a valid date, right? Whenever character data is having a valid date, so Arkel server automatically converted into date value. Whenever string or character is having a valid date, automatically SQL server converts into the date value. So now I am not inserting in the number. Now I am taking sysdate. Why you need to take a sysdate for the student?
Student table is already created in database. Yeah.
Student table. Sysdate I am telling. Why do we need to use the sysdate? So now what is sysdate function, guys? Sysdate is a date function which returns the current date and time. So why I am taking sysdate means, what is my table? It's a student table. So I am tracking their student ID, student name, and join date and gender. So join date, when they join, by the time I am inserting. So if I am entering details today, so the student is joining today, right? Today. So I don't want to enter today's date manually every time. What is system date? It returns the current date and time. Current date and time means current date means today date only, no? Today date and time it will return. Current date and time. What is the current time? What is the current date? So I don't need to enter manually. So what I will take, I just put this is date. Sys date what it will do? It will return the today's date and time. See now, select star from student 7. See, you enter sysdate, right? So I said sysdate is a date function which returns the current date and time. Where is time? Why it is not saving time here? Why it is not saving time? Any idea?
Data type we are taking
Yes, very good.
date.
So join date we have taken data type is date only. So what is the date data type functionality? It can store the only date values. So it can store the only date values. So now if you take create table, table name is transaction table, transi table. So account number, account number. What is the date type, guys? Number date type 20. Next account name, account name. Varchar or varchar2 both are same only. Even you declare varchar, automatically it will convert it to the varchar2 data type. You declare varchar also. Now transaction date and time. Transaction date time. I need to save the date and time. So what we will do? Timestamp we will take. Timestamp. See now. Varchar date type. I am taking some 10. See, to describe the table, what is the function, guys? DESC. Then table name. If you see here, account number, number date type, account name. Which date type we have declared, guys?
Varchar.
Varchar. Here,
Varchar 2.
2. So even you declare varchar, it will automatically convert it to the varchar 2. Now insert into transitable values. Now account number something, name something. Next, just I will give sys date. Just I will give sys date. Now you can see same year also I am giving sys date only. Now you can observe 7:46:12 seconds. 8 7 46 12 seconds. See here 18 7 46. First when you executed by the term 12 seconds. After you executed for 16 seconds. 4 seconds has taken time for me to execute. So now you have entered sysdate only. Why it is storing only? Why it is storing time also along with the date and time? Here we have entered sysdate only, no? Student. By the time it is storing only date. Here also you enter sysdate, but here it is capturing both date and time. Current system date and time. Why, guys?
And in particular table we mention the data type of
So
timestamp.
here in transaction table, we have taken the data type is the timestamp date type. What is the timestamp date type functionality? It will store the both date and time. So that means here sysdate is returning both date and time only, right? If it is not having the functionality to return both the date and time, so here it will come 0000 time. So sysdate is a date function which return current date and time. So both it will return both date and time, but based on the data type it will change. So here you declare the date data type. That's the reason it store the only date. Here you declare the timestamp date type. That's the reason it can able to capture both date and time. But sysdate by default it will return current date and time. Based on the functionality of the data type which you declared for the column, that will capture the data. Clear, guys? That is the date and time date types. Date and time date types. Any doubts? So date type is stored to valid date format with the fixed length. This is the valid format. DD MONYYY MONYYY. Timestamp date type. Store the valid date. Year, month, day with time. Hour, seconds like this. Clear? Next. Next we will go. LOB date types. LOB data types. What is LOB data types, guys? Card completed, number completed, date completed. LOB means large object. LOB, large objects date type. LOB date types is nothing but large objects date types. Large object date types is, now my requirement is how much bytes maximums can store the cat data type, guys? Maximum time, maximum how much, how many bytes char data type can store the data?
2000 bytes.
2000 bytes. Varchar to data type,
4000.
so 2000 bytes and 4000 bytes, that's okay. So you are very clear. So char data type is maximum it store 2000 bytes. Varchar to data type it store the maximum 4000 bytes. Now my requirement is I am having huge data like last 7 years or 8 years data. The column is also having the in real time you never see such type of cases. Even I never used. Only we use for the I said right. For government, if you want to store the in real time only with respect to the I mean photo signature, those type of images videos in your database, those type of projects only we use that one. See, for example, if you see your CC cameras in roadside, they will capture last 1 month or 2 months data, 2 months videos roadside. Sometimes they may put 5 months or 6 months. Government related is whatever CC cameras they may use 1 year data also they will capture. So that means the video whatever it is capturing it should store in the database, right? Those type of projects we will use LOB more. LOB. So by the time 4000 bytes more it will come, right? 4000 bytes is just 1024 bytes is a 1 MB, right? So 4000 just 3 MB something. So now my requirement is I need to store more than 4000 bytes in such case scenarios, like where um, images I can store, where I can store the videos in my database. What is your approach now? How do you store? Is it possible to store by using char or varchar too? Is it possible, guys? It's not possible, no. Char will store only 2000 bytes. Varchar will store only 4000 bytes. If you want to store more than that, so that's the reason SQL has introduced LOB date types, large objects date types, large objects date types. So we have LOB date types, we have CLOB data type, BLOB date type, B file date type, CLOB date type, BLOB date type, CLOB date type. CLOB means character large objects. See, LOB data types you use to store large objects such as image, videos, graphics, text, audios, or anything. Large objects, large blocks of character, large blocks of data, large blocks of data. Because we can't store by using varchar 2 more than 400 bytes. So maximum size is 4 gigabytes, 4 GB. By using LOB objects, we can store the data maximum 4 GB data. So these are dynamic data types. You know, right? What is static, what is dynamic? We have already discussed. So following LOB data types are in the SQL. So CLOB data type means character large objects. So CLOB data type is used to store the character large blocks of character data into database. If you want to store large blocks of character data in the database, then you should go for the CLOB. You should go for the CLOB. CLOB. Okay. Now your requirement is you need to store the more than 4000 bytes, right? So what do you have to do? You have to insert the more than 4000 bytes of the character data. What do you have to do, guys? Character table, table student 8, just yes name, or else yes address, yes name, varchar 2, 20, yes address. Yes address is CLOB. So for CLOB date type, you no need to declare the size. You no need to declare the size. You no need to declare the size for the CLOB date type. Any larger data types, you no need to declare the size. Maximum size we can declare 4 GB. It will by default it will take 4 GB. You can see why these large objects are dynamic. If you are inserting less data, so remaining bytes will be waste, right? So that's the reason they have developed is the dynamic. Dynamic means how many bytes you insert the data, that many bytes only it will take. Remaining bytes it will send back to the database. See, what is the database? See, CLOB data. Clear? If you want to insert large blocks of character data more than 4000 bytes, we doesn't have any other option. We have the only option is called CLOB. But I never used in my real time. If your project is with respect to image, videos, or any large blocks you may use. Clear, guys? Next, BLOB. BLOB. BLOB is binary large objects. What is binary data, guys? Binary data means, can we have any structure to the binary data? Can we have any structure to the binary data? Yes or no? Binaries means whatever the unstructured data is called as a binary data. So, can you have any structure to the image, videos, graphics, how you need to store what is the data, this and all? We doesn't have any structure, right, for that. So blab is used to store the images and other files into the in your column. Blab is used to store the images and other files. Blab is used to store the images and other files. I mean images, videos, graphics, audios, this type of things we use blab object. We use blab object. I mean blab data type. So blab data type is used to store the blab is used to store the images and other files. Images and other files, not character data. Not character data. Character data large means COB, CLOB. blab and b file is used to store the image, videos, graphics, audio files, those type of files. So blab is used to store the blab is used to store the unstructured binary data such as images and other files. So before going to blab, we will see b file. B file is used to store the location of the image and other files. If we see, if we see, if you see, we have we have one picture here. I want to store this one data types, data type, I mean in database. So B file is used to store this location where it is in D drive, class, and personal. So this is the location. So B file is used to store the location of the image or videos or a graphic or audio files where that file is located. So it doesn't store the image and video these things actually. It store the location only. To store the location only. B file. B file is used to store the B file is used to store the location of the image and other files. Also used to identify the location of the image and other files through the procedures. So I said, right, if you are applying any government exam, if you are applying any account, they will ask you to stamp your photo and your signature. Or online, if you are applying, they will ask you to upload the image and upload image and signature. Even if you are applying government job, they will ask you to upload image and signature. Why? Because that is the PII, personal identification information. So how do we identify the person? By seeing the image and signature. So those should be stored in database, right? That will be implemented by using the procedure concept. We will discuss in the PLSQL concept. This one, there is a procedure we will discuss in the PLSQL concept. So by using B file and blab, we implement that scenario procedures. How we will implement to locate the image where it is storing, and to identify that location we use the b file. To store actual image, the store the image or video or graphics or audios, those files, we use the blob. So now you need to store image, you need to store the image and signature both. So how do you implement this scenario? Oh, what and all date types you use, guys? I need to store the image and signature. What and all data types we use to store the image and other files except character data? For character data, we use CLOB. Can you hear me, guys? Hello.
Yeah, because
So now my requirement is I need to store the image and other files. What is the data type to store the image? So we should use both blob and blob and b file. Why we should use both blob and b file? Sir, you said only to store the image and other files we use the blob. Why do we require to use the b file? To store the image means where you have stored that image in your system, it has to locate right first to identify that image or whatever you wanted to store. It has to be identified or not. To, to identify which data types we have to use to identify the image and videos, those files,
B file.
LOB
b
file.
file. So now b file we will use to identify the location. After identifying the location, so what you need to do? You need to store the image. To store the image, what we use?
LOB.
blob. So to implement that requirement, you should use both b file and blob. To store the image and videos and audios graphic these files, you should use both b file and blob, because to store you need the location first to identify where it is there, then you can actually store. To identify the location you need to use b file. To store the image actually you need the blob. So that I will show you practically in the procedures PLSQL. I will show you practically. Okay, like how I will take one image like this and I will upload in the database this one. Okay, I will show you practically by that time. Clear now what is large objects? Large objects we have blob, clob and b file. blob, clob and b file. Next, it's a very important, guys, row ID data types. We will see that one tomorrow, but we will see now long and raw data types. Long and raw data types. So that is very easy. Like say it's a similar to the large objects. So maximum bytes for b file, b lob and c lob. What is, guys? Maximum size is
4 GB.
4 GB. But my requirement is I don't want to allocate this much size to blob or for that column. CLOB or BLOB or B file. I don't need to allocate this much. We can use this too in real time. Sometimes I said wherever you get the requirement, but I never use my experience in CLab and other long and raw. I will tell you. I will show you those things. So now my requirement is I don't want to allocate for this column this much size 4 GB 4 GB. So that by the time we will go for the long and raw date types. So long and raw date types is used to store variable string length, string data within a predefined length. Like it is a dynamic date type, long and raw date types. Raw date type, you must need to declare the size. This bracket indicates mandatory. Many times I told. So raw data type also used to store the binary data. Such a binary data means which is unstructured. Raw data type is also is used to store the binary data, image, graphics, those things. The maximum size is 2000 bytes. Now you know that your the see if you are applying the any government exam, they will put some restrictions. The image should not go more than 2 MB. The signature should be less than 500 KB. Have you seen any time in your career those type of situations?
Yes, Venkat.
Right? So how why they will put restriction that the column the column which they allocate that may have not they don't want to declare more size. So now instead of declaring B file is the 4 GB, right? So my requirement is I don't need to allocate this much. So I will go simply raw data type by allocating 2000 bytes. Maximum raw data type is 2000 bytes it will store. So now you know that more than 2000 bytes you will get. So by the time you can go for the langra. Langra data type also same. It will take 2 GB. But recommended is instead of using langra, you can go for the BLOB because some backward compatibility it is altogether some other concept. So you can go. So CLab also same. CLab I don't want to allocate 4 GB CLab. I will go only up to 2 GB. So I use instead of using CLab I can use lang. But recommended to use instead of lang use the CLab. So now to store the character data, we have char, we have varchar, we have varchar2, next lang, next CLab. Lang is used to 2 GB store. CLab is used to 4 GB. But instead of lang and langra, as per our Oracle standards, so you should use the CLab and BLab because there is a backward compatibility on concept is there. So that's the reason they are recommending. So I never use my real time. So I used in my real time perspective BLab and B file. Clear guys? So to store the character data, what and all data types we have? First is First is char to store the string data. How many bytes, guys? 2000 bytes. Next, varchar 2. How many bytes?
4000.
4000 bytes. Next, lang. How many bytes? Long also used to store the string data only. 2 GB. Long 2 GB. Next, CLOB. How many bytes?
4.
4 GB. Now next, to store the images. Image. What and all data types we have? Raw. First raw. 200 bytes. Next, long raw. How many bytes? 2 GB. B file. How many bytes? 4 GB. B lob. Binary large objects. 4 GB. Clear? But I used in my real time B file and B lob. Okay? C lob also I never used. So we will see tomorrow row ID date type. Somewhat it will take 15 minutes to explain that class. So we will see tomorrow, guys, for this. Do you have any doubts? Anyone is having any doubts? So still some people are joining at 8 o'clock. Guys, class will start at 7 o'clock. Try to join at 7. So after enrollment of the people decision, we may try to adjust our timing like 7:30 to 8:30 or 8 to 9 based on the um, enrollment people decision. Okay. Anyone is having any doubts or doubt to request?
Sir, I want to know syntax for already existing tables.
Sorry.
I want to know syntax for existing tables already created in database tables will be there, no sir. So I just want to know syntax.
Which database you are using, madam?
Normally in system, if you are using SQL, some tables will be there, no
No,
sir.
I understood.
Like
Which data
employee
types?
table.
Which data type you have? Sorry, which tables you are using?
Employee table I'm using, sir.
Okay.
So,
Uh,
yeah.
so which tool you are using to connect that? There are some recommended tools, right, for everything. See, for MySQL, yeah,
Oracle
MSSQL,
level G only.
yeah,
Oracle level G only.
there is a SQL Oracle developer tool which is widely range used in all our world. For every database, without Oracle developer, there is no project and there is no database itself. If you are using the Oracle, so even we explain the we are explaining in the SQL Plus for the understanding purpose, for class purpose explanation. SQL Plus is a easy one because we can go back above what and all commands we declare, we can see one by one, but we can't able to see in the Oracle SQL developer. So till we start the topics, we use SQL Plus, then we will come to this tool, because in real time you have to go and use this tool only. So if you are telling that it's employee table, no, go to install the Oracle developer, Oracle SQL developer tool. Here, once you go there, you can go, you can double click on that. First, if you click on columns, it will show what and all columns, what and all date types, what is the
Sir,
C.
how you are using SQL Plus in that format only I have one tool, sir. So I just want to practice it. So,
Yeah, that's what SQL Plus. I didn't get
yeah,
you.
in that SQL, how you are using that SQL Plus tool, sir. In that format only I have the tool, sir.
So there is a text column. So that it all very Like if I tell also it will be complicated for you. That's the reason I'm recommended you to use this tool.
Here
The
I know, sir, in
Yeah,
database we'll have that all the tables
yeah.
under database, so we can see here in Oracle SQL.
Here you can see SQL what and all you
Yes,
have
sir, I
written.
know.
See,
Yes, sir.
but that
I
is
know here, sir, but in that tool I don't know, so I just want to know.
that I recommended you to for practice you can use still some of the topics, but after that I don't recommend. Even if I come to the topics, I used to use this tool only for the explanation, because in real time you should go and work on this tool only, so you should
Yes,
learn.
sir.
See, even not only for that, we have constraint topics, everything we can do here only. You can rename the table, we can do there also, we
This
can
is
rename.
dynamically. This is dynamically also we can use, sir.
Dynamic in the sense,
Like if you want to rename or else
yeah,
anything,
see,
just if
the
we click on
rename is a table, rename is a column. There are some subtext syntaxes we have, DDL commands, but without using them also direct you can do here. Rename, what is the old table emp, I need to do employee.
like without syntax also
Yeah, without
we can
syntax
do,
also,
right?
without
But
syntax
in
also we
some
can do.
but in some oracles that option is not displayed, sir. Like only we need to write a query, sir. We need to do.
Yes, yes. Here a dynamic way we can do by using the actions. But
But some dynamic options are not available
yeah,
in
that you have to write
Oracle.
everything. That you have to write everything as a code. Even
Yes,
you are
query. Yeah.
even you are having options you should not do in real time.
Yes, sir.
You should write
Yes,
a code
sir.
only, because that will go to the deployment to the production people, support people. So they will execute whatever you are developing. They will execute in the production. By the time they doesn't know, right, if you do directly from here, what you have done it, how they will build in the production side, everything whatever you are writing in the development side, it should go and test in the QE environment. Next, after QE UAT, then UAT to production, we have to roll out. Who will roll out those things? Production support people will be there, application support. They will involve in the production enrollment, I mean deployment. But as a developer, you should be available by that time, because while deploying, they may face some defects, they may get some error. So that's the reason only L3 people will be available for the deployments. They should take care during the deployment. If it is any error, we have to indicate to the production people. So everything you should write a code only, so that then only they can deployment. Clear? So anyone is having any doubts, you can reach out to me this mobile number. This is my mobile number. You can call me or you can anything. So if you want to enroll the course, you can come to me. So tomorrow we can meet you guys. I feel tomorrow is the last session. We'll see to you tomorrow. Any doubts, guys? Can you able to understand it? Whatever we are discussing. Can you understand, guys? Or you are getting doubts?